Okay, we're live here on YouTube. Amazing. Let's do this one too. All right, now we're live both on YouTube and Instagram. Just going to go ahead and wait for a second. All right. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome. So we're live on both my YouTube and my Instagram. So if you're joining and realizing that I'm looking at two different places, that's the reason. Let me know where you're joining from. Let me know how you're feeling on this beautiful day in life. We're alive. Yay. All right. Okay. Hello, hello. So I did caption this. Hi, welcome. Hello, hello. Okay, so I did caption this, the fastest path to bypassing your healing. And we're going to talk about some stuff, which is actually when we're looking from the meta perspectives, it makes so much sense, yet how it's not really serving our healing process and how it just like leaves us really confused, especially when we are faced with the symptoms, diseases, or we may be living our entire life from the diseases, right? So welcome. Let me know where you're joining from. Amazing to be here. So I'm going to start with why fake it till you make it does not work when it comes to our healing process. Because honestly, that we've done it for so long. We've done it for so long, and now we are actually dealing with the circumstances, like the consequences of this fake it till you make it. And it makes so much sense why we did this for so long. And now it is time to do it differently. So one of the things that's really coming to me to actually speak into it, this is like an opinion of mine, which may be really unpopular in the industry. I believe the whole non-dual perspectives are not doing us any good, because, like, although I believe it, I study it, I am a student of it. It's not the only perspective we get to operate our lives from, because the healing gets to happen. And, not everybody also in the level of, oh, I'm going to just transcend my ego and just like operate from that space. Not all of us are there. And if we act like we're there, we are just bypassing our process. And I mean, I don't know, like we're looking at the world in this day and age. Majority of the people have the lexicon when it comes to speaking about the spiritual perspectives. We have all the ideas we can talk about and write about and act like we are that, yet what we are creating is telling us otherwise. The fake it till you make it, speak about it until it becomes your reality is not working for us, is not really working for us. So and then either, like, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know until we do. And if you're here in this moment, and if you're having this conversation together, there is a part of your consciousness either knows this and lives this and, is on that journey, or is being invited to this journey of really looking at yourself and your belief systems and where you're operating from. And one of my really purposes in life is to really bridge this on earth. I work with earth-based medicines. I work with, the nervous system and the body. And until we bring all that stuff into the body and have like this heart be the actual heart and the bridge, we're not really fully integrating those healings or the concepts that we're talking about. Although those concepts may be like really powerful and brings forth so much amazing experiences, how do we actually bringing that into the body and being a human on this planet? So that is why I always talk about, yeah, like I am that I am. I love that. I love to, like studying Maharajis and, like all the epic gurus of, like their teachings and everything they brought forth, all the wisdom. Yet, like we got to go beyond that wisdom and, like really understand, yes, that is like what is influencing a lot of things, but also there gets to be a certain level of healing that has to take place in our bodies. So that's a good question, Kristen. Someone is asking, does Kundalini energy facilitate this? So there's so many different proofs of us, so like we're all operating like from a whole different timeline and on a whole different soul curriculum. And considering this, also because we don't have, like majority of humans have a lot of self-understanding, like we see it on someone else being worn so nice and we just take it on because like there's a deeper part of us that is yearning for those experiences, right? That God wants to be known by us, like our soul wants to like come forth and remind us who we came here to be. So we have these experiences and there's inspirations all around and all through, yet like we like majority of us are missing the point, missing the point of healing, because also we're so smart, we're outsmarting ourselves, we're outsmarting our deep programmings. And I do this to myself. And I'm like, and then we become like, through the manifestations, so through our creations, we are being called towards like deeper, where am I creating this from? So I'm going back to the Kundalini energy. There are some people going through a whole Kundalini awakening without even having a concept of what the heck is happening to me. And it becomes very disorienting, to say the least, having a lot of mental problems, having a lot of problems to bring down, like, and ground that energy, because we actually don't have tools to work with these like energies. I mean, Kundalini energy is the life force energy. Kundalini energy is the Big Bang. It's not separate from that. Can you imagine? Like, if we don't have concepts and understanding and how to work with these energies, we go through that. Yet, like when those people have these experiences, it's also their, like curriculum that they have to go through. And I didn't have the understanding of the power of the Kundalini energy, and I'm a student of it. And until I started having like this whole awakening, and then like it just like landed into my heart, and then it landed into my pineal gland, and then like I just started having this mystical experiences in the visionary states without any medicines. And I was like, holy shit, people go through this. People go through this without any tools. At least like I am actually like facilitating this in my experience. But like it is part of also the bypassing, right? So that's like my opinion about when it comes to Kundalini. And I had many, many, many clients who had a lot of mental issues like due to their Kundalini awakenings, because they didn't have the capacity to hold that kind of energy. And I actually held space for a lot of people, because it does ultimately really mess up the nervous system and then how we be in life, right? especially now you're saying that you're also facilitating for yourself and you're also a student of it, right? And one of the things I'm going to actually speak into, now that we're talking about Kundalini and I'm following the pulse of the creative energy here, when we are talking about Kundalini, I was a student of Kundalini yoga for so long, and there were times in my experience that it just started actually really being disorienting for me. And I was also drinking so much plant medicines at that like time in my life. So having a lot of like, disorienting nervous system heavy experiences, Kundalini energy, you're activating your like, energetics, life force energy, and moving so much that's living inside of your body. Plus you're going into this like epic visionary states, like with different medicines. And like, I was like, oh, I think I'm losing it. I think I'm losing it. I had to take a break from Kundalini yoga. I had to take a break from plant medicines and like really integrate those energies. There are live broadcasts on my feed um, about those experiences of mine where I was like, holy shit, I'm losing my shit. Like, am I crazy? Like, am I like, am I doing okay? Like, I was asking, like, oh, like, oh, is everything okay with me? So, like, those integration processes have been hard, but it brought me to nervous system healing, the greater understanding of what it really means to somatically heal. Like this somatic means soma of the body, like, using the technology of the body to actually heal, because we cannot fully heal if we're not really fully bringing the entire systems, right? So, uh, um, but like it is one of the common conversations in the space, the wellness space, like the nervous system regulation. Like, there's nervous system regulation, there's nervous system regulation. So I'll speak about the difference now, which, like, that wants to be spoken into the space. If that's the case, I will speak. So there's nervous system regulation within the moment, right? Like, I can get activated with something and I can feel that I'm like, holy shit, there's something happening, or I'm triggered, and like, I'm angry, and like there's just this like wants to move. And I am taking a breath. I am doing breath work. I'm walking out in the nature. I'm listening to the bird songs and I'm regulating. Yes. And then that's like momentary regulation. And that can happen with people in your life, with your baby, like, just like, the co regulation, self regulation. Yes. And there's the whole nervous system regulation from your entire like time in your life. What is the sound? And like all the attunement or misattunement wiring, the lack of wiring that has happened or didn't happen in your childhood. So that is the nervous system regulation that I'm talking about when I talk about the nervous system regulation. Yes, and it does include the momentary nervous system regulation, but it goes beyond and addresses all the like the subconscious and unconscious stuff that we have experienced since our childhood, in infancy, really. And like, I talk about this a lot. If you've been in my space, you know about this. um, you know when we are born as babies, we don't have self-regulation tools. We co-regulate with our primary caregiver, and we literally borrow their nervous system, and we just operate with them. Like, you can see, like, if like, if you have a mother or a child like in your field, go watch them. And like, not to bring blame, of course, to the past generations like, beautifully risen us, but they didn't have the capacity to heal their own trauma. They didn't have the capacity to be with their own emotions. What happened is, like, we became what they are, and continuing our life with those programming. If you're watching yourself, whoever your primary caregiver is, it may be your mother. Usually it's mothers, but not everybody had their mother. So I want to be sensitive. So, like, just go and look And sometimes we don't even remember, especially the first 3 years is more like precognitive experiences. Like we have somatically the imprints, not the actual memory. So we don't know, and we're asking life why this is happening. Oh my God. So the actual work is, when we say reparenting, when I say inner child work, I go all the way to the infancy. And you may not even remember those times. And the most interesting things that I came across in my own experience is like, holy shit, like I cried out, the whole cry out stuff. Let the baby cry out and they're gonna, like stop and, go to sleep. Like we grew up, like majority of the humankind that are alive in our age, like they lived with that cry out thing. What is the cry out? They stop because they like actually disassociate from their bodies and then fall asleep because they are now frozen. There's like, this like helplessness in the system. They are wanting for actual attunement and co-regulation, but no one is there to give them because our families are trained to think that cry out is the thing. And here we are. We're constantly in our lives right here, right now, crying out for help. If you're aware of it, so the actual, going back to the infancy, those like precognitive memories that are living in our bodies, also like a huge part of um, the fastest way bypass healing is thinking that you're healed, the thinking that you don't need healing. Actually, that someone's saying that. So I'm going to go back to it. And going to the infancy, really addressing those parts of us and wiring, because like we say rewiring, but there are certain things they are not even wired. So really learning to attune ourselves in that deep level so that we can become more attuned to our needs. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. It's like, like they're when we are not in our bodies, when we don't know how to take care of ourselves, especially in my childhood, I didn't know how to ask and speak into my needs. And I didn't know how to, like speak into my needs. And then like I would be cold and would just like really not even ask for an extra blanket or something. Like it was like in my mind, I had to live with that. Can you imagine in how many different areas of our lives we do this? We just think that like that's the only way that like moment can occur. Yeah. So someone I'm gonna go back to it. Hold on, where is this? I don't know how to read your handle. It says the fastest path to bypass healing. Really, is that a bait? So no, like we're following the pulse of the conversation here. So first of all, I invite you to start from the beginning, like going back. I do post these on my YouTube. And second of all, hold your freaking horses, honey, and listen. So, and if it's not working for you, like you can just like press the X button and take your power back and take your energy and attention back. I invite you to empower yourself, and that's all my entire teaching, to empower ourselves. So go ahead and empower yourself. And let's go back. Why fake it till you make it is not going to work in our healing journey, because we cannot actually fake the actual programming that we're operating from. We cannot. And that subconsciously, I always talk about like, and you probably, if you're actually doing this work, you probably know like only 5 to 8% of what we know is our conscious mind. The rest is the subconscious mind. And with our conscious mind, in a second we are processing 4 to 5 bits of information, and with our subconscious mind, billions of bits of information within the second. This includes your entire system and body and like heartbeat and breath and everything that's moving. And this includes your subconscious mind and your nervous system constantly checking if you're safe or not within that moment, right? So, like you are being operated by that imprint that has or has not happened in your, developmental phase, right? That, like, usually the last trimester into 6, 7 years old. And so, but we don't know those programmings, right? So that's why it's like really constantly using life as a, like the reflection board. Okay, like what am I experiencing, and where maybe like constantly being in that inquiry is the part that we are actually really collaborating with our lives into our healing, and then use those cues and bring it into our own healing journey. And we have been talking about this in this past 6, 7 days on the live broadcasts. Um, so a lot of people, they don't even know that they are traumatized. And honestly, I'll tell you, like I was one of those. I didn't know, like one of my biggest traumas, like it had occurred, and I didn't have the understanding of how the nervous system works. So I don't know what happened to me. Like I was a baby, and like that freeze that I was living my life was like my entire, like school and preschool time, how I was perceiving myself, like, oh my God, I'm like just so stupid. Like I can't even like respond to someone who's asking me a question. I would be, like in this class, like been asked a question, and like I would just like freeze. And once I unfrozen, felt safe, I would think about like the answer. I'm like, I know the answer, why I cannot respond to this, right? But like I spent my entire life growing up thinking that I am useless and I am a stupid person, really. Like, and I didn't know that that was trauma, of course. No one knew that information. And as we were learning those things and actually thawing that freeze response, the freeze response is, what is it? There's a lot of energy in your system, but also there's opposing energies in your system. You have the energy, but you also, there's the opposing, like the collapse energy. So they are collapsing all to each other. So you're shutting down and nobody's home. And you can see like people when they're not home, there's a glaze in their eyes. They're not in their bodies. Thank you so much, Kristen. I really appreciate that. Thank you for seeing me and receiving me. So like, like we're not there, nobody's home. And guess what? Like when nobody's home, and when we don't know we're not home, and when there's all this like spiritual concepts that we're all one, and there's all these stars that we can meditate and we can remote wheel, and like there's so many people, there's so many amazing spiritual teachers actually, like that are teaching epic stuff that they're not in their bodies due to their traumas. They have access to the higher realms, and they can see those things, but there's nobody home and they're full of trauma. That's why, like, even like right now, there's a lot of us. I work with a lot of healers myself, and like I am actually really real time watching this happen, like epic facilitators coming into my field, and we're doing this work. They're like, I don't think I have ever been in my body. Yeah, that's the point of this work that I'm talking about. That's why I've been talking about like this bridge, like we're the bridge as human beings, our bodies, and this like entire Shushumna is the actual central channel that like we are operating. The entire electricity of humanness is living here. And we cannot access the entire, like the full moving energetics if you're not home. What does that mean, that not being at home? That means like we're still operating, and there's like this blockages, and there are micro traumas and there's macro traumas, but there are like blockages of energies that are sitting, that's the shadow work, the lower three chakras. And as we move, what happens? We first reach to the heart, the energy, like once it starts moving, it moves upwards, like from down, the Kundalini energy down and up. It wants to go up. It wants you to know. It wants you to remember and use your antenna. Yet nobody's home to actually open the door. We are the ones who get to open the door. Does it make sense? Who's here? I would like an emoji, a comment, a heart, a yes, I'm here. Are you home? Is there anybody out there? Anyway, that's the joke of it. So, thank you. Um, so, quickest way to bypass your healing, thinking that you're already there. And then there are those of us who think we already healed those things and there's no work that needs to be done, right? There's that. People think we're crazy. I mean, I will tell a story after I finish this whole thing about like me really tapping into the crazy that I once was. And that can be a whole live broadcast, maybe tomorrow. So, another way to bypass our healing, thinking that we don't need healing, all the while living from the entire all the while living from the entire symptoms of insomnia, symptoms of addiction, symptoms of skin diseases, symptoms of a lot of mental fog, like autoimmune system diseases that we have. And I have been one of those. Like, I'm telling this freeze thing, and especially there's the functional freeze, which like a lot of world when we bypass and override our actual traumas, we want to go out and do it in the world, we want to make it happen. And those people, majority of the time, they are super successful, super wealthy, they are just like overriding what's there. And then at the end of the day, there's no like there's no health, and then it just pops, like like the people end up with diseases because it wasn't addressed, and body wants to heal itself, right? Like it wants to clean and clear those things so it comes to surface, and it all starts in the energetics until it fully manifests in the body. And if you're not really addressing that our entire life, plus the entire toxicity and all the GMOs and everything that's like, even like the air that we're breathing, everything accumulates, and then we are sick and thinking that we don't even need healing. That's the irony of it all, really. Thinking while living, I told this, and then the thinking our emotions are bad. So that's one of the programmings that we're operating, like especially in the patriarchal, like culture that we like, toxic patriarchal culture that we grew up in, like um the idea of like, if you're expressing your emotions, you're too much. If you're not expressing, you're a good girl, like, or like, like the entire suppression and repression in man. And how does it like reflect all this, like this dysfunction that we see in our world is like due to like all that repression that lives in our bodies. And then we're talking about war. Yeah, of course, war. Like we are just like full of stuff. And how does it affect our thinking? Like, especially if we're not home, like, and then we are hijacked, of course, like through this energetics, and then we are hijacked because it just accumulates, and it just breeds more of what it is, right? Like whatever we have in our bodies, the power and all the stuff that we're toxically chasing, is breeds more of itself. That's why, like, just really test it with yourself. Eat sugar every morning. Eat sugar every morning. It doesn't even have to be anything political or like cultural or anything. Go eat sugar every morning. Even if you don't do that, that's what you're going to crave for the rest of your day. Like you're just going to crave that like your entire day. And then what happens, like this is the entire reason, like like United States of America is obese and sick and fat. Sorry, because we are thinking this is normal. We are thinking this is the way to live. We are sick, and we are being invited to actually be present with this. Yes. And the pain is not actually being sick. The sickness is not the pain itself. When we actually wake up to the fact that we have been lied to, and this is not how we live our lives and feed our babies and eat Kellogg's for fucking breakfast. Oh, I did, like, can you imagine the guilt of a mother when they learn that, like, they did that for their children? Nobody is doing it on purpose. Nobody is like, "Oh, just, like, have this and so that you can have crooked teeth and, like a dumb mind." Nobody is doing that on purpose. This is like a, breeding of that, like, mind. It's just like growing on itself, sickness. And how do we, you 20 people here alive, how do we actually say, no to this and then be the living, breathing example of actual healing process to anyone we come in contact with? Because it ripples and it is all of our responsibility. And it is all of our responsibility. And we all have different roles. Like some people are like everybody, like there's so much happening in so many different levels. And like there's like different groups of people to like talk, like talking about different group, like different things, because there's so much to talk and so much to awaken, being awake to. So like because our sickness is not only one dimensional, there's so much sickness happening in and around us. And on a personal level, how do we address? We address our nervous system, we address our conditioning, we address our belief systems, we address our victimhood. It is one thing to wake up that we have been sleeping. It is one thing to decide that we're not going to be victims of that circumstance anymore and take different action. It is two different things, two levels of waking up. Which one are you at? Are you still, yeah, I know these are the things, and like this is the story. Are you still the victim of your story, or are you actually taking action and saying, you know what, I'm not going to be the victim of this. I know better, and I'm going to actually research and think for myself. Does it make sense? Oh my God. I didn't know what I was going to talk about until like 5 minutes before this live broadcast. Me and my friends, we were having a brunch out there on the field and talking about belief systems and how, like, said, like it was a total different conversation. And I was like, maybe I can actually just like, bring forth like the channel is already open there. But you know what? Like, and then I saw the comment, like, people, there's so many different layers and there's so many different levels of actually like experiencing like awareness, right? And there is the consciousness, and there is everybody's at a different place. So instead of, like there's so much judgment happening, especially like, I'm putting myself out there and I'm just talking about like what I know in my current present moment awareness. And I don't know what I don't know. And I'm humble enough to actually accept I don't know what I don't know. But there's so many people who actually think they know, and they are constantly judging, judging, judging. Like this is not how we be in the world. If we are actually really wanting to create a whole new level of being in this planet, we got to learn to actually accept other people, like first of all where people are at, and be compassionate for that, and then actually be like expanded enough to actually hold different truths. It doesn't have to be your truth, like what I'm talking about, that you don't have to believe it, but it doesn't change my reality. And can you be okay with that? That's the level of like what we're dealing with. And can we actually be compassionate for other people and where they're at? And we don't have to agree. We don't have to agree with one another in order to actually be compassionate and open hearted. Anyway, so so then we talked about the different ways of different levels of regulating the nervous system, going back to the nervous system, because you know what, we always get to go back to the nervous system. We always go back to the neuroplastic healing. We always go back to our subconscious programming, which is, like our subconscious mind. What is our subconscious mind? Our subconscious mind is our nervous system. Our subconscious mind is our body. We got to address that. And we're always going to go back to it. Every time you're at a different level of expansion, guess where you're going to find yourself? In your nervous system, in your subconscious mind. That's where you're going to find yourself every time you're at a precipice of a whole new expansion, whole new rebirth. You're going to find yourself outgrowing your old belief systems. And those are the layers, like you didn't know it existed before. Because if you knew, you would change. I mean, that's what I think for myself, right? Anyway, so the nervous system. So really, really, really learning to rewire or wire and learn to attune to ourselves, cultivating capacity to hold more alive by attuning ourselves, by attuning to our needs within the moment, learning to actually hear our needs. Most people don't even know what they need, right? Not like, it's like within their bodies, like they don't really know, they're not really present with the body. And we talked about the not being present in the body, like stuff. And I am talking about this entire teaching in Be Your Own Medicine, which is my self-guided, pre-recorded, do-it-yourself course that is yesterday. It was on pre-sale, 50% discount till yesterday. Now we're at a level 1 pricing. It's still discounted. It's going to be, I'm going to be raising the prices. If you're interested, and if you know you're interested, let me know and go check it out and see if it's for you. There's like plethora of micro practices that are designed to really for you to create like a neuroplastic healing, really healing that stays in the body, that is sustainable, not a healing. I'm just going to hypnotize you to think this way. And then 2 days later, you're going to start doing the same thing. Not that kind of healing. And honestly, it's not for everybody. This kind of healing is not for everybody. It's going to bring up a lot of stuff. It may even like bring up a lot of like energy, because the more, what happens. So in my experience, and I'm still a student of my own nervous system. I'm still like an apprentice of my own nervous system and my deep traumas. But this doesn't mean that like, it's just it happens immediately. So it doesn't mean that it happens immediately. You just like learn this is a lifelong experience. Yet you start like really harvesting the fruits of it, as you show up for it. And anyway, so I'll give you an example within this healing process. When, let's say, we talked about the freeze response, right? Like the more the freeze thaws itself, what's going to happen? We talked about the collapse energy and the actual like sympathetic energy, right? Like, and what happens? So it's like the freeze is not there now. This is dropping. There's a lot of sympathetic energy. What are you going to do with that energy? So we got to learn all these things there are going to be like series of things that like I thought I was healing, but this feels like really crazy. And like as a person who is actually doing this work on herself and actually teaching, I know the tools I invested so much in my entire journey. If you've been with me, like, or just following, so like, and I put together all these tools that I wish someone actually gave me in the beginning of my journey, so I didn't have to actually go through all these trainings, which I think it has been an amazing journey. Anyway, so I'm teaching about the Know Thy Nervous System, polyvagal informed nervous system teachings and micro practices to really regulate your nervous system and actually learn to map your nervous system and work with the energetics, different energetics that are happening. What is the sympathetic energy? What is the shutdown? Like, what the fuck? Like, when do I know that I'm shut down? Like, especially you're shut down. So really teaching these energetics. And then we're going into the shadow work and like a whole plethora of like amazing shadow work teachings plus an amazing master class with a depth psychologist, and talking about the archetypal healing, and talking about like the inner child healing in a different module, going into the infancy and really addressing the developmental stages of ourselves, and really going into the certain specific healings. And then we go into the emotional literacy, because why? Because like we're making our emotions bad, and we're resisting our emotions and creating a lot of disease, right? So how do we cultivate a whole new relationship with our superpower, which is our emotions that are constantly speaking to us about ourselves, right? And then the subconscious like mind and the power of subconscious mind. I'm teaching self-hypnosis. I'm teaching a bunch of different stuff. And then the master classes on microdosing, psilocybin, if this is for you, like I'm interviewing an amazing doctor, and there's shamanic practitioners talking about like the soul retrieval, all that stuff. So that is Be Your Own Medicine. If you're interested, it's an amazing toolkit for healing. And then this Saturday on the 11th in the portal, my membership community, what we're doing, it's called Bloom Season. But for the Bloom Season, what's like actually like in my listening of the field is like we're really expanding to a whole new level of being, especially now it's summer and like in the field. So we're going to go into really upgrading and updating our belief system. So I'm going to be going through an activation and clearing of the belief system, and really installing whole new belief system. If you're interested, instead, like to be in that space, it's only $27 a month. You can come and check it out and enjoy the activation. And then if you don't like it, you can leave or stay. I would love for you to stay. And one-on-one work, I do some deep work. If you're interested in getting like private help from me, I'm also holding space for healers, visionaries, creators to really build themselves, really keeping the nervous system and our capacity in mind, like really body-based business expansion. And then stay tuned for my mastermind that's coming in September. These are the ways in which that you can work with me. If you're interested, you can direct message me. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Living Light every Wednesday. I'm sharing my experiences, my poetry, like where I'm at, my stories on my newsletter. It's free every Wednesday. Just sign up for it. All the links are in my bio for those of you who are on Instagram and YouTube. So yeah, I'm so looking forward to playing in the field with you, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube or in my mailbox or like in my private containers or masterminds and like communities, group communities, monthly membership communities, whatever feels right for you. This is an invite. And, we're just getting started, guys. And I feel so excited. I feel so excited that I get to share these things with you. And I'm so grateful for your attention. And that's the biggest sign of generosity, right? Your attention. So I give thanks. I love you so much. I hope you learned something. I hope this supports your becoming in some way. If anything that I said like creates curiosity, go research, go, just like learn more, and, just like bring that into your body, learn the ways to bring in your body. If it's of any interest, come be your own medicine and like carry an amazing medicine toolkit for yourself, for your life. All right. Bless. And I'll see you tomorrow.